Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Gains for Girls podcast. If you're watching on youtube.com/OutKick, which you should be, that's where you can find all things Gains for Girls, you would see that sat in the seat next to me and today's co-host, my most favorite co-host, is my husband, Louis.
Yeah, I guess last time we were on, we had just announced some exciting news that we had a little girl on the way, and I guess it's only fitting to have another update since little girl has now finally arrived.
No longer pregnant. She is here. She made her way into this world on September 29th. 6 pounds, 10 ounces, 20 inches long. We figured we would do an episode today to kind of go over all things labor and delivery. The episode that we did a few months back when we had announced the pregnancy, I talked a lot about my pregnancy, especially, of course, the first two trimesters. I think at that point, going into the third trimester, what that looked like for me, how I felt. I guess we can kind of give a little update on the last little third of that pregnancy in the beginning of this episode. But I've had so many of you guys, really you gals, lots of women who have reached out since announcing that she is here. She has been delivered. She has made her warm welcome to this planet, to the Barker family. I've had a lot of you reaching out asking about what was labor like. I think it's super cool because a lot of young women, especially, just inquiring, maybe pregnancy and labor and delivery, something that has scared them in the past. They had lots of questions. So put something up on my Instagram a few days ago saying, ask all the questions we're going to cover in this week's episode. So we have a list of questions we're going to go through, but figured we would start off by, I think it's important to go over kind of that third trimester. Anything of note to you? I will say, kind of like if you didn't watch the episode when we talked about our pregnancy and how that had been, especially on me and my fitness and sleep and all the different things, all the symptoms that I had, I will say I was very, very blessed. And till that point, had a fantastic, easy peasy pregnancy.
So I thought you were good up until probably the last 10 days, and then you'd wake up every hour to go to the bathroom. And if you were going to like try and move around, like to readjust in bed, it would seriously be a 3 point turn, and
Yeah.
every movement was,
Yeah.
uh.
No, honestly, my worst
Yeah.
symptom, like truthfully, and I say this with my full chest, the entire pregnancy was having to pee all of the time. I'm so excited now to be in this state where I think especially with breastfeeding, like you can't drink enough water because you're losing fluid. So like that has been the the best, like outside of her being here, getting to love and snuggle and just hold her, be her mom. The best part of her being here is not having to pee all the time. So the last trimester, was just as easy as the first two, to be honest with you. So if you're watching this, if you're a woman who, hopes to get pregnant, wants to, maybe is scared to, we hear a lot about the bad stories, like the horror stories. And look, I am not here to discount what some women go through, but I am here to shed light on there are pregnancies and labors and deliveries, as we will get into, that go super smooth. And that is myself. We live in this world where there's so much like whataboutism, where people feel scared to say they had a good pregnancy because they don't want people coming after them saying, it's just the whataboutism. You see it on TikTok all the time, on social media. But I'm not ashamed to say that I had a fantastic pregnancy.
I think a lot of it as well, like in all seriousness, was the fact that you were so fit going into it. I really think that helped you out tremendously. I mean, throughout the whole time.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I think prioritizing fitness prior to conception, maintaining that fitness through my pregnancy, and now being postpartum, it's been a week and about 2 days since she made her way into this world. But even still, getting out and walking, and of course, listen to your doctor, trust your doctor, let him guide you on what that kind of looks like for you specifically. But I've been totally good. So,
Yeah.
fitness is definitely a key player in, I think, how you feel during pregnancy. Okay, now let's talk about labor and delivery. It was Sunday afternoon. I did not want to be induced. I wanted to do this whole thing as natural as possible, but I had kind of told myself, knowing her due date, that I did not want to go into October. And if that was something that was going to happen, I would rather be induced than go into the month of October.
Nothing against the October babies.
Yeah, honestly, this is like a super stupid reason why, but I wanted her birthstone to be sapphire. Again, sorry to all you October people. Is it opal?
I think it
That's
is.
just like not as pretty as sapphire. And that is the most like, that is so, I'm recognizing that is like so silly, but that was kind of like what I had in my mind.
That was your competitive side where I don't even think it was much the birthstone. I think you just
Yeah,
wanted to beat your due date or try to beat your due date, which
that's, that's true. It is. I think it's like the athlete in you, like you feel like that's kind of like the threshold and you want to beat it.
a good challenge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that did not happen. So, went in for an induction. So went in on Sunday at around 3 p.m. basically just walked in. They took us right to our room. It was already prepared, given that it was kind of scheduled. That was that. When you're being induced, this was something I didn't really know. I thought you just get there, take the Pitocin. I didn't even know, like, is that an IV drip? Is that something you take orally? Like, I really was kind of in the dark about this, which I should have done more research, but wasn't the case. You get there and they give you this thing called Cytotec, which kind of, I guess the intention is to ripen the cervix, if you will,
That
which,
sounds so foul.
yeah,
Right in the cervix.
yeah. It is supposed to like ripen the cervix, help you dilate a little bit. So took my first dose of that orally. It's like this little bitty tiny pill at 4 p.m. I pretty immediately started feeling like different. I don't know how to describe it. It wasn't full-blown contractions at this point, but I could feel things starting to, I mean, be the beginning stages of labor, I guess. You take Cytotec every 4 hours. So that my first dose was at 4 p.m. on Sunday. Took my second dose at 8 p.m. on Sunday. This is when I could really start to feel contractions. It had turned into like what I would describe, and again, for all the women watching this, like pretty intense, like menstrual cramps. Manageable, bearable, but definitely painful. So this to me was like, oh, is this what a contraction is like? Again, first time mom, you don't really know. I thought I can do this. My plan was to be as natural as possible. I talked about that on this podcast before. Did not want an epidural initially. I don't really know why. There wasn't really like a set reason as to why I didn't want one.
I think for just of the conversations we had, I mean, talking it through, just thinking, trying to think logically about this stuff, we thought it's going to make delivery easier. You can get it, move
Yeah.
around. If you wanted to get on the squat bar, you could get on the squat bar, whatever. So that was kind of I think that was some of the
Yeah.
thought process in not doing an epidural and just doing it naturally. You're tough, you know. If anyone was going to do it naturally, we were like, yeah, you could
Yeah.
do it. So
And that was, I think, with the epidural, again, not really knowing, a fear of mine was, I mean, you're essentially paralyzed as it had been told to me from the waist down. And that's kind of like a scary, I don't really like relinquishing control of my body, right? I'm typically someone who's so in tune and self-aware with my body and bodily functions. It scared me to not be able to move my legs in a critical, like really important thing such as childbirth. So that was, I guess, the thought behind it. So anyways, menstrual cycle cramping type thing. Uh, Took my third and final dose of Cytotec at midnight on, I guess at this point, going into Monday morning. So going from the 28th to the 29th of September. Immediately upon taking that third dose of Cytotec, my contractions like amped up to a level I was just simply not prepared for. I basically had what I think can really only be described as like an hour and a half long straight contraction because my contractions were so close together with little relief. And so I sat there for about an hour and a half. Louis was a trooper. He was awake in the chair next to me, like consoling me. I thought I was going to throw up. I was like in tears, so cold. My body was shaking. I was contracting from like my traps down to my toes. It was so uncomfortable. I really tried to tough it out for about an hour and a half. It's like
there
1:30.
there was a moment where we thought you were just going to ascend into heaven.
Yeah, I was like, I'm dying.
That's it.
This is it.
This is
This
it.
is the worst pain I've ever felt in my
Yeah.
life. And so again, it's the middle of the night. It's 1:30 in the morning at this point. So I'm like, you have this like little red button on your hospital bed that you can click and the nurses will come in and they were coming in periodically and checking on me, but I was honestly too prideful to say that I was in pain. I was like, oh no, I'm fine. Thank you. But I reached a point where I was hurting.
You were ill. You were becoming ill from it.
And so I'm like talking to him. I'm like, do I click the button and do I tell her I'm in pain? The nurse, like, of course I'm in pain. Everyone in this unit, I would imagine, is in pain. And again, being a first time mom, you don't know what these things are supposed to feel like. I click the button. I call her in there. I'm like, look, I know I said I don't really want an epidural. I want
Give
an epidural.
it.
Yeah.
Give me the epidural.
So she did. They had the anesthesiologist lady come in. I mean, I sat there. Let me tell you, the contractions were so bad. You don't feel the epidural. I didn't feel the epidural at all. And it like went into effect pretty immediately.
It's a pretty hefty needle.
I'm glad I didn't see it.
The lady was asking me because I saw the needle and stuff, but I stood, facing you, and your back was away from her, so we couldn't see it. But I still, being nosy, saw the needle and everything. It was pretty impressive, and I'm glad you didn't see it.
Uh,
You may not have wanted
yeah.
anything to do with that had you seen it, so that was good.
No, I don't think so.
Uh,
But went into effect pretty immediately. And like I said, I thought you would be kind of paralyzed from the waist down. I wasn't at all. I could still move my legs. Granted, of course, they were like heavier, but I could still move around, which I appreciated. So this is at 1:30 in the morning. At this point, my blood pressure starts to plummet. it got super duper low, which I will say I felt fine the entire time, especially after the epidural. I felt great, actually. Like I was like, everything from this point on was really a breeze for me. But my blood pressure started to plummet, and they have all these wires hooked up to you and monitors and sensors, and they could tell that the baby's heart rate started to drop. And I think it's because my contractions were so frequent. The way that she was positioned on the umbilical cord was causing her blood pressure to, or her
All right.
heart rate to drop. So,
Yeah, the way that they described it was, if her heart rate drops during a contraction, they're not terribly concerned, but it was always following a contraction. So they said that okay, that's a blood flow issue, and they didn't necessarily like that all that much.
and again, this went on from 1:30 in the morning to 4:30 in the morning. So basically the middle of the night. All the nurses are in this room and they're kind of freaking out. They put me on oxygen.
Professionally though,
Yes,
they
professionally freaking out.
they weren't panicked,
No, no. But it's always, I think it would be of concern to anyone when, you've got five nurses in there, the charge nurses in there, they're all staring at the monitor, they're moving you around, all that kind of stuff, which again, I wasn't concerned. I I mean, I think I'm typically a very low stress person, so I was just happy I couldn't feel my contractions anymore, to be honest with you.
You were happy as a clam. You were on cloud nine at
Yeah.
that point. I was a little bit more of a nervous wreck, but we were good.
And I will say at this point too, they don't let you eat in the hospital, especially when, you're being induced, because if you have to have a C-section, they don't want you to have like a full stomach contents. And so hadn't eaten since like 11 a.m. the day prior, so was really, really hungry. That was one thing. So if you're going in for an induction, make sure you eat before you get there because they don't let you eat when you're there.
Did we sneak a couple twin snakes?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Twin snakes are my favorite candy. The little gummy, like sweet, sour little Haribo things. I love them. So we definitely smoked some of those.
Sneaking them under the bed too.
Yeah. I had Cheez-Its actually in my little like gown pockets. So don't tell the nurses that. So anyways, from 1:30 to 4:30 was the nurses were kind of stressing out with the whole oxygen problem. Anyways, they had to end up giving me a shot of this thing. I think it's called like
Sounded like turbo.
yeah, turbo is what they were calling it. I don't know what the medical
Yep, something.
like analysis name for it is. But that basically slowed down my contractions to a much more steady rate. At this point, my blood pressure was better, her heart rate was better. I was able to take a little nap. So I slept from like 4:30 to 7:30 that morning. Doctor came in. He said, "Look, I'll be back in just a little bit. We're going to break your water. You're dilated at this point to the amount you need to be, and we're going to give you this baby," which was like surreal to hear, honestly.
It was right at noon when they broke your water.
Broke my water. She was here by 12:30. So minimal pushing, really. I think I pushed through maybe four or so like contractions, which that's how this works. Again, I wouldn't have really known that. You push with the contraction. So the contraction will come, they'll tell you push. It's basically three 10-second pushes in one contraction. One thing I did that I did not think I would have wanted to do, but I was like too curious, like I felt like I was missing out on something. I asked for a mirror.
It sounds weird,
Yeah.
but I think especially with people that are competitive, like you can see the head, like you can see the head, you can see her hair, like it gives you that, oh, like she's there, she's coming. And so I think it was a little motivation for you to keep working at
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So they put like a mirror down there that I could see, which again, like not a sight that I want to see again necessarily, but it was really cool to see like her head and all the hair that she has. She has such dark, thick hair, which was such a shock to me because, of course, being blonde, I just assumed that she would have lighter hair. I don't know why. Obviously, he has darker hair.
She took after her daddy.
She did. She definitely did. And so she was here. She's delivered. They hand me the baby. We were both like a mess.
I heard that first cry and that was game over. I was bawling. I was
Yeah.
blubbing like a baby at that point.
It was
Trying to hold it in, and there is a picture where every single vein in my forehead from trying not to cry is just like throbbing. It's like, okay, that's not
It
cute.
was so sweet though, and honestly, I could tear up thinking about it because looking at him holding this baby that I mean, you talk about her for 9 months, like whatever it is, like even like with pregnancy cravings, like you kind of make a joke of like, well, Margot is craving this. Like this was the little girl we had talked about. I had felt her hiccup inside me so many times, like all these crazy things, and then she's in your arms, and it was just like the most beautiful, surreal moment. And so it was really cool. One of the things that I knew I wanted to do was a delayed clamping and cutting of the cord, just making sure she got all of like the last and final dump of nutrients from my body into her body. And so the doctor let us sit there for probably what, like 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah, I was probably, yeah, 3, 4 minutes. I think pretty much our only thing was just wait from everything that we'd read and spoken to the doctor about was wait until the cord turns white. Once it turns white, it's, done
Yeah.
passing everything through that it needed to. It's pretty neat. I got to cut the cord. That was kind of fun. I don't know if I was necessary. Like I'd heard about it. Doctor had said it once before. I thought he was joking, but he seriously just like handed me a pair of scissors and he was like, "He's going to be like cutting through a hose pipe and just go away, get on with it." I was like, "Okay, cool."
How was it for you? Like, I don't know, like I feel like I would have a hard time as a spouse, as a wife, and maybe it's different as a husband, but watching you like in a hospital bed go through this pretty traumatic thing. Beautiful, but like let's be real, it is pretty traumatic. Like how was it for you watching that happen like to me, your wife?
I was surprisingly calm, and I think I will credit that to the nurses.
Yeah.
Like they were so, I mean, they were moving with purpose, but like they kind of emitted zero stress, which was great. So I think I was comfortable in the environment we were in, which definitely helped. Um, you know, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what was good or bad at that point, and so I was, more so. I mean, we were just figuring it out as we went along. So I think it was kind of a blessing in disguise, being a little naive to all the ins and outs of what happens. But I really wasn't stressed. My concern was just making sure that you were as comfortable as can be while going through all that. I think the epidural helped. But yeah, I wasn't stressed. I was anxious because our world was literally minutes away from changing forever, which no, you can't prepare for that. It
No.
is so surreal when it happens. But yeah, I was just almost anxious for the anticipation of that. But I really wasn't nervous or stressed for you. I think
Probably
yeah,
too, I feel like with hunting,
yeah,
you've like gutted a deer and all the
yeah,
stuff. So
yeah,
I feel like that in terms of like the blood and gore of it kind of prepared
yeah.
you for that.
There wasn't that
No.
that much blood. That there was a little. When the placenta comes out and all that stuff. Sure, there's a little bit of blood, but it really, yeah. I mean,
No.
if you've ever hunted or even fished for that fact, you've seen just about as much blood as
Yeah.
There's more involved in that than there is.
So she came, was delivered, sitting on my chest. They took her, they weighed her 6 pounds, 10 ounces, 20 inches long. She was a little bitty thing, really. It's also like when the baby comes out, especially if you are having like a vaginal delivery, kind of has like a cone head.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Looks like
yeah.
one of those like Aztec skulls that you see in like history books.
Okay, she's gonna listen to this one day and be like, dang, my parents were roasting me.
Yeah.
It like more, it's amazing. This is like to speak to how amazing, I mean, our bodies are, especially a little bitty baby, like their skull, the way that it is, like the fissures that it has, like it's meant to do that. That's the only way you can like physically get a baby out. If the head wasn't like malleable, if you will, it wouldn't be the same process that we go through. And so definitely came out with a little bit of a cone head, but it
Yeah.
was like within 12 hours, like a normal
It is
human baby head.
it is kind of funny though, because when she came out, I was like, this is the most beautiful being that has ever lived on this earth. And then we look back even 12 hours later at pictures and we're like,
Oh my gosh. I think that's like a universal experience
sure.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was that. We found out pretty immediately, they do all the tests and things that she was Coombs positive, meaning it sounds kind of scary. It's really not. Our blood types were different. So when she was in the womb, our bloods were basically fighting each other. Like her blood was forming antibodies to my blood type, and in the process was breaking down my red blood cells, but also breaking down her red blood cells. You think that was an accurate summary?
Yeah.
Any like medical professional listening to this, like if I got that wrong, that's kind of how it was explained to me, at least
Yeah.
how my
That's
mind
the gist of it.
understood it. Didn't really mean too much in terms of what this would require. But she had high bilirubin levels, meaning she had a smidge of jaundice. So the treatment for this was basically just exposure to blue light.
Phototherapy.
Yeah. So her first night on this planet, she slept in like this. It looked like from the Avatar movie. It was like this incubator, if you will. And she was in our room the whole time with us. This incubator, if you will, with these like bright blue lights and this blue blanket she was on, just like soaking up it looked like a tanning bed. It was like a tanning bed.
We can't forget the Frozone
Oh yeah.
goggles.
Because the light is so intense, like they give her these little goggles. And again, she's this little tiny little bean, and they put these like goggles on her face. We got to keep them. And
Yeah.
so I can't wait to show those to her when she is old enough to understand I guess, comedic relief, if you will, of a little bitty baby in these goggles. But that was cleared and we were good to go. We left the hospital. We were only in the hospital for what? I mean, 2 nights, maybe 3 nights, including
Yeah.
the Sunday that we got there. So it was a very easy
Yeah.
process.
Dads,
Yeah.
bring a pillow, bring a blanket, bring hoodies, and bring some Tylenol PM. It is not for the faint of heart sleeping on that recliner,
No.
but it's worth it. You know, you kind of
I should include a
embrace the
picture of
tech.
what you looked like sleeping on that recliner.
There is a very violating photo that you took of me.
It's so funny.
I did not sleep. I slept 4 hours and 48 hours from when we first got into the hospital. And so when I did, I had an hour sleep one night, I got three the next. And so when I passed out on that second night, it was the ugliest sleep I've ever had in my life. But it was so good. I needed it.
One more thing that Louis did in the hospital, which was super sweet, and he surprised me with, kind of surprised me. I'm really hard to surprise. I
She's
like,
the worst.
yeah, I
The
am.
worst. She digs and dives and snoops and she's gonna try and find everything she
Yeah.
can.
One time when I was probably in middle school, even like my Christmas presents when I was younger, my parents would wrap them up and put them under the tree. That's how our family worked. Like Santa presents weren't wrapped, my parents' presents to us were wrapped. And so my parents wrapped a pair of Nike tennis shoes, which now I don't wear Nike, but I thought these tennis shoes, they were like the neon color, which was super like middle school core. I mean, think of 2012, like the neon Nike shoes. My parents got me a
Red,
pair.
orange, and blues.
Oh,
Oh
totally.
yeah.
I was so excited to wear them. I opened the present, like unwrapped it, wore them to school, came back home, put them back in the box, and wrapped it back up so my parents never knew. So all that to say, I'm pretty hard to surprise. But he surprised me with what we have deemed, or what has really like across the board been deemed as a push present.
It's a scam. Dads, husbands, it is the biggest scam, but don't not fall for it because you're gonna get in trouble now.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like, and this makes sense in my mind, like I carried the baby for 9 months. That's kind of like my present to him, if you will, to
Mm,
both of us, but
yeah,
like to him. And so a push present, the present that I get for pushing, that only makes sense.
absolutely. That's girl math at its finest.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so he made this really beautiful ring. Um, you probably can't really see it, but it's this one, and it's got a band of diamonds, a band of sapphires, her birthstone, and a band of diamonds. And the idea, you want to talk about,
Yeah, I wanted to do something that we can always add on to. So I thought about a little necklace for a while, but I was like, okay, how do you add on to a necklace? You add another pendant and it looks weird. Um, and I appreciate jewelry. I always have. I mean, when I was in high school, I'd buy and sell watches, shoes, bags, whatever, whatever I could do to make money. But I've always appreciated jewelry. And so I was trying to think of something that we could always add on to and you don't limit yourself by doing it. And so I thought, okay, let's do it. We could do a ring. And so that's why we went with three. So it's diamond, sapphire, diamond. And then I guess when we have the next one, it'll be whatever the birthstone is. And then another row of diamonds. So you go three, five,
stack
seven.
it.
You can stack it so that there's some continuation to it. And each of them get their own little set.
Yeah, and the idea is eventually when I don't know how we want to do this, but either when we pass or when the time is right, each child gets their
A push present.
push present. So it's kind of like a cool fa family heirloom type of thing too. So really, really sweet. And again, like put me in tears in the moment. And it was cool because he handed me the ring as they took the baby off my chest to go do the height and weight and all that stuff. So it was really special and very sweet.
Don't forget, Dad.
Yeah.
Don't forget.
Yeah. And women know to ask for the push present.
Yeah. Drop
Um,
hints.
yeah. Um,
Throw us a softball. We need gentle reminders for this stuff. We're not very proactive a lot of the
no,
time.
you are proactive. You really are.
Try.
Okay, so we've been home now for about a week, and I truly believe that we created a perfect angel baby.
We're not biased or anything though.
No,
Mm.
she seriously though is perfect. Like she has been such a dream. Whether it's feeding, whether it's sleeping, which is, I mean, those are basically like the only things that
Yeah.
she does.
She sleeps all the time,
Yeah,
which I don't know if I didn't know what to expect when we got home. I did not expect her to sleep like 16, 17 hours a day.
yeah. The only time, like, she does not cry. The only time she cries is when changing her diaper and the wipe is wet, and she immediately stops crying when the new diaper is on. So that's been like
Yeah.
such a blessing.
And I, you've grown up with kids around,
Younger
nieces,
sibling,
nephews,
yeah.
siblings. I've only got one younger cousin, that's it. And so I mean, I was absolutely inexperienced when it comes to babies and kids and all that stuff. But it's all what I noticed even within the first 24 hours is that there's a checklist. If they're crying, they're either cold, tired, hungry, or they need the diaper changed, or they want a pacifier if they'll take one. And that's it. You kind of just go through one thing. If that's not it, move to the next, move to the next, and then at some point I'll stop crying. It's been great. I just follow the trust the process.
Honestly, like it is, there's kind of like a little checklist of
Yeah.
things to
Yeah.
figure out, decipher when she's upset. For sleeping, I've had to wake her up. to feed. Um, she's latched great. Of course, we have been breastfeeding her. Uh, I have had no issues with supply. She has had no issues with latching. I mean, pretty immediately upon coming out, again, doctor puts her on my chest. She's like, it's amazing how like instinctual, like she's like immediately searching
Yeah.
for
I
her
mean,
food
yeah,
supply.
the only way that I can describe that is feral.
Yeah, it was.
She really was like eyes weren't really open, but if they were, they would have been like locked in. Like she knew what she was looking for.
Yeah, it's crazy. So that's all been great. Figured we would get to some of the questions
Oh,
that you guys left.
I had never changed a diaper in my life.
Oh my gosh.
Kind of terrifying.
I don't even know what story.
Kind of
Well, it's
terrifying.
weird because at first, when the baby, like the first few days, like,
There is a picture of the first diaper change in the
yeah, the
hospital.
baby's like petrified.
Black tar is the only way to describe the first what 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
Oh my, it doesn't smell, which is great. The most terrifying thing you have ever seen. Literally black and sticky, and it is the worst to try and clean up. So new dads, be prepared. It's not for the faint of heart, but you'll get through it. You'll be okay.
Now it's transformed into like, and this probably is so like entry level to most, I mean, anyone watching with kids, like you're like, duh. But again, we had no idea.
Yeah.
Now it's very like mustardy.
Oh, it's awful.
I can't even believe we're talking about this. Again, she's gonna watch and be
Yeah.
like, one day and be like, I can't believe you were talking about what
Yeah.
my feces looked like
Uh,
to a community of people online.
yeah.
So sorry, Margot.
Yeah.
All right, questions. Who has changed more diapers? Honestly, I think you.
I don't know. We've probably been pretty equal because I think I'll do more during the. Well, no, nah, I'll do both during the day and night if you
Yeah,
want to
I would
get it.
say you.
I'll hop up. I don't know. You've been good though. I think it's equal.
Someone asked, someone has picked up on the fact that we haven't shown her face on social media. So they asked, will we show Margot's face?
Not yet. I think people, more so just to look at it, just to protect her. I think respectfully, some people can be crazy, um, and so I think just in terms of limiting her exposure, especially when she's so little and so young, we'll probably hold off on showing her little sweet face.
This was something I didn't feel too strongly about. Like I was fine kind of one way or the other. This was more of like protective dad, which I value and I respect. And so not releasing that information, number one, like you said, people are crazy, as made very clear within the past few weeks. Like people will target you. People will, I think especially when Margot has a mom, both her parents really, whose like major cause and what has given me the platform that I now have is ultimately the trans issue. The people who lobby for the trans stuff are insane. Like, if they're crazy enough to believe that a man can become a woman, they're crazy enough, as indicated by the political assassination of Charlie Kirk, they're crazy enough to kill you. Like, they're willing to risk their lives to prematurely end yours. And again, you hate to say it makes sense, but if you're deluded enough in the mind to think that men can become pregnant, why would we expect these people not to be deluded enough to want to kill you? And so, that in terms of protection, and there are just creeps online.
There
Like,
are, there are
yeah,
just, mm-mm. Yeah.
yeah.
I think it would be naive to think that we can fully shield her from any exposure ever. I mean, that's just not realistic. But sorry, we're not just going to hand information out about her necessarily. So I think it's just, doing what we can, being realistic to shield her from some of the stuff. I think, let's let her be a kid and grow up.
Yeah.
So
Which will be hard. I'm so proud. Like, I'm so proud
it
that we
is hard.
created this and
Yeah.
he's so beautiful and like the bluest eyes. He has really blue eyes. My eyes are blue. Her eyes are like beautiful. Her complexion, her hair, like I'm so proud of her. It's hard not to like want to show her off, if you will. But I think definitely for the time being, just
Yeah. And
protecting
we'll
that.
definitely revisit as she grows a little bit and but I think for the time being we'll keep that just for us.
Lots of people have asked if Margot is a family name, which Margot is not. But it was really cool because her middle name is Jean, which is my grandma's middle name, and her mom, so my great grandma's name, Jean. And so we named her Margot Jean. My grandma, we knew we decided this probably maybe like halfway through the pregnancy, we decided her name. And so I didn't tell my grandma. Like, my grandma has turned into such a sap. in her old age, as you do, right? Like everything makes her cry. Even today, we were out eating lunch, and the host came up and said, thank you for your courage. I know who you are. Like, and my grandma is sitting there in tears. I'm like, oh my gosh, we call her Gammy. I'm like, Gammy, you don't have to cry, but she's just turned into a sap. And so, anyways, we made it the whole way without telling her this. We had this idea and like this plan of how we were going to tell her in the hospital that we had given her middle name to Margot. But my grandma was up in the nursery. She has the cutest little nursery, by the way. She was up in the nursery, and there was a quilt that said Margot Jean, and my grandma turned it over, had it hidden, folded, put away so she wouldn't see it, and she turned it over, and she just immediately was in tears. So that was really sweet and special.
Sobbing
Yeah, yeah.
immediately. Yeah.
Okay, people have asked ideal birth plan and how far it was from reality. Again, the intention, the idea was to be as natural as possible in a hospital setting. I knew I wanted to give birth in a hospital. Like give it home birth, that was never for me. I think the women who do it are literally like superheroes. After going through what I did and kind of like experiencing that hour and a half of intense contractions, I don't know how women do it, but I think you're a superhero if you do. Home birth was never for me.
My thing with home birth as well is that, again, as husband, dad, I definitely wanted us to be in a place where if something wasn't quite going right, which, for a lot of pregnancies and deliveries, things don't go quite to plan. And, God forbid you need an emergency C-section or, needed any additional care that we couldn't do at home. I wanted us to be there where we could get it right away.
Yeah.
I didn't want to risk you or the baby.
I
So
did one epidural, got the epidural. I'm not like ashamed of it. It was more so again a toughness thing. I thought I could tough it out. I'm not. I wasn't. I was not tough. And I think if I were to, or maybe when we eventually is the better way to say it, eventually, God willing, have more kids, I imagine I will definitely get the epidural.
my take from the start on the epidural was that again, I wanted you to be as comfortable as possible. And I could not push out a baby. After seeing that, I don't know how women do it. Phenomenal. I could not. And so I was glad to see the almost immediate relief after you had the epidural.
Yeah, and it was immediate relief.
Yeah.
Okay, they've asked about vaccines and what we did there. Okay, first of all, highly, highly, highly recommend the book that we read called The Vaccine Friendly Plan, I believe is what it's called. I forget the doctor's name who wrote the book, but he's awesome. Turns out this book was written like I think nearly 15 years ago. He has a new book now, and the book like was awesome because it basically just presented you with information.
Yeah.
Do with it what you will. I guess there was like a little like he there wasn't much opinion. I think there was maybe a little guidance like this is what's in the vaccines, this is what the FDA recommends, this is, all the information is there, do with it what you will. Really appreciated that. That was 15 years ago. He has a new book now called The Vax Facts, I think. I mean, you can get it on Amazon, and it's much, much more conservative. And it goes to show you the information that I think healthcare providers and healthcare professionals, and what really we as the general public have come to understand and realize over the past 15 years, and the shift that we have seen. I think especially from young people, like more younger people are starting to question big pharma, largely to thank COVID, right? I think a lot of that opened so many people's eyes, including my own. So
I think as well, I don't know if you're the same way, but I was almost, I don't want to say nervous, but when you kind of check in at the hospital, you've got to do all this paperwork and stuff. And they were asking, post-birth, what do you want to do? Do you want to do, there's the vitamin K, there's this eye ointment, there's Hep B. I think that they all try to do day one. And I don't want to say ashamed, but almost interested to see the reaction from the nurses when we said, okay, like we didn't do the Hep B, Riley doesn't have Hep B, therefore baby wasn't going to have Hep B. Like I don't want to say that we were ashamed, but there's almost like this,
you feel guilt
yeah, there's
almost.
like
Like they make you feel
pressure.
guilty, which
Yeah,
I will say the staff at the hospital we were at
yeah,
were fantastic. And like I mean, virtually all the nurses came in and they were like, yeah, we're not into all the vaccine stuff either. And they were younger women again.
yeah,
So that was really cool. And I think a perk of living in a place like where we do in Tennessee,
yeah,
which everyone was great. But there's like guilt, especially like if you post online that your child's not vaccinated, you have all these people who come for you saying like, order your newborn casket now, or I mean, like really horrific things, which
yeah.
is just crazy.
And and we're not anti-vax, through and
Period.
through, yeah, period. But it's more of a okay, we're going to wait a second. We've looked at, like what would they do in England? I think it's 6 weeks before they do anything in England. So we're going to take our time, figure out what we think is important. Again, we'll speak to our pediatrician and say, look, what do we need to do? What should we stay away from? And just get advice, and we're gonna do what we think is right for our child.
My thing when I thought about this is, again, learning what's in these vaccines, like aluminum, or as they say in England,
Aluminium.
aluminium.
Yeah.
Learning that there's aluminum and mercury in these vaccines was mind-blowing to me because we've made this huge shift as a society to not have like deodorant with aluminum in it, but we're going to inject little bitty babies with like
Yeah.
30 times the FDA recommended amount of aluminum. Like that didn't make sense. And mercury, I wasn't allowed to, or what they say during pregnancy is you shouldn't eat fish, right? You can have fish, they say, some doctors may say portions or once a week or whatever it is, but you're not supposed to ingest high amounts of things like salmon because of mercury.
Yeah, so
Yet we're
like
going to give babies vaccines with mercury in it. It just didn't make sense to me.
yeah, those fishy fish.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, you got to stay away from the real fishy fish.
So we ended up doing no Hep B, no eye ointment. We did the vitamin K, but we did it preservative free, which is an option. If that's something that you want to do, make sure. I mean, I think it's standard where every hospital is supposed to have a preservative free vitamin K, and that's not a vaccine. So if that's of interest to you, make
Yeah.
sure you request it because they won't tell you it.
Vitamin K, I mean, it helps with blood clotting. Like, once you cut the umbilical cord off, it doesn't bleed, but when the umbilical cord falls off, once it dries out, there's a chance that it can bleed. And so helping out with stuff like that, she's got real sharp little nails.
Well, even like brain bleeds and stuff, and
Yeah.
like if you're a boy getting circumcised or whatever it is. So
Yeah.
that's what we did in terms of vaccines. Someone's asked, how's recovery been? I was up walking around like
Within an hour.
like
Well, sorry, yeah, it was about 2 hours because
hooked
they
it
say, yeah, you're not supposed to get up after the epidural for so long, and you were like chomping at the bit
and like whatever.
and
I
like
feel
ripping
fine.
IVs out and stuff. I was like, oh boy,
Yeah.
she's off. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was up and out. I have felt awesome. It takes like it probably took like 3 days for my like uterus to kind of shrink back down. So now I already like I've been able to put my pre-pregnancy jeans on, which feels awesome. That's been fantastic. Going on walks, again, I advise you to talk to your doctor, your OB. But my OB is super cool, super chill. He's awesome. I've been cleared to, kind of take it slow, but I feel awesome. I feel fantastic. So that's been great. How has it been to watch your significant other become a mom or a dad? And I will say it's like a different kind of love watching your husband become a dad. Like the love that he has for her is like the most like beautiful, wholesome thing ever. I didn't think I could love him more. And then watching him with her, it's like a whole new kind of love. It really is.
She's our little bean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been really neat watching you. I always knew that you'd be a good mother. You've always had a real maternal instinct. But even I mean, you've blown me away seeing it, like actually seeing it play out. That's been really cool. It has been. It's been really cool.
Do you want to talk
I've
about
loved
your
it.
philosophy? Because we had talked about prior to her being here of like how we're going to parent and what like parenting style we're going to use, discipline action, like all these different things that I think moms and dads should talk about. We're having those conversations.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to be on the same page more than anything. But for us, I've always wanted to set the example of what a relationship should look like, right? And so, probably going to get hate for this. But the way that I describe this to Riley is that I want Margot and however many other kids we have to look at us and be like, oh yeah, mommy and daddy together, and then we're all here, we're hanging out. I want them to see that me and Riley are a team. We're on the same page. It's not mommy versus daddy. It's mom and dad together. We are one. That in terms of the one thing that I would hate more than anything is for one of Margot to run to Riley and say, "Hey, can I do this?" She says no, and then she comes to me and I say yes. That inconsistency is something that would drive me nuts. So the example that I gave Riley, and she was like, "There's no way you're going to stick to this," and it's already been hard, but I'm going to try my best. Is when I get home from work or when we walk in, not sidelining Margot, but making sure that the first person that I go in and give a hug and a kiss to is Riley, and then Margot. I want them to see that it's mommy and daddy, and we are one. And then, we still, obviously love them, want them to feel loved, but I want them to know that we are a team more than anything.
That's like it's so hard for me
It's
to
it's hard. It's
like not
tough.
just want to, walk
Yeah.
in, but I agree entirely. And I think the way that he put it and saying like mommy, daddy, Margot. Um,
At first you were like,
I'm like, we can't do that. Like it's mommy, daddy, Margot. No,
yeah,
but it makes sense. And I think to set that example
Yeah.
is an example that kids are lacking, number one. Like we see that in how, whether I mean, kids who think there are no consequences, like we see it all the time. Kids who are kind of lacking that direction or example in the home, and we see it in the world or in our culture or in society or in school or whatever it is. So to be that for our kids, I think is really important.
Yeah, I think I mean, most important thing for us is we've got to set an example. And, that goes in everything that we do. And I think it's especially important in relationships because what's the statistic now that 50%, more than 50% of
Sure.
marriages end up in divorce? I would hate, we're not going to be that statistic, just so you know. Um,
We've kept
don't smile.
we keep saying like no generational trauma,
No
Margot.
generational trauma. And so she needs, I feel like it's important to have an example of what a loving and healthy relationship looks like. And sure, do we bicker about stuff? Absolutely. But one thing that I got big on when we first got married is that it doesn't matter how irritated we are with each other, whatever has happened, we're not going to be that couple that sleep in separate rooms. There are so many parents that do that
Yeah.
now, and the kids think it's normal, and like that's not a healthy relationship. And so I think just setting that example is something that I want to be really, really big on.
If you follow me on like Instagram or TikTok especially, that's where I post, I feel like more of my personal life. You would know we have dogs. We've got three hounds.
Three little domestic terrorists.
Yeah. Springer Spaniels. They are like truly the best dogs though. We have Buddy, Lady, and Dumbo. Buddy was our first male.
He's my boy.
Lady was our girl. Buddy and Lady got together. They had 10 puppies, Dumbo being one of them. And so kept him. So three dogs. They're like, I mean, prior to like having Margot, they're like, I mean, they felt like my kids, which is probably unhealthy. And like, there's probably like a thing about that. But there's, to me, like nothing like a dog's love. It's unconditional. You're the best part of their day every single day. Their tails are wagging. They're so excited to see you. Like when we pull in the driveway, like I love that. So they've kind of been like my kids, it feels like. Lots of people have asked, how have our dogs been with her?
Lady, so I'm sure. I mean, if you've seen any of her stuff on socials, Lady has been from the start of pregnancy so intuitive about it,
Like infatuated.
about pregnancy and knowing that something was different. Um, I think we knew from the start that she was going to be
Yeah.
fantastic. She's always been a mama's girl. Like we knew that she was going to be okay. The other two, it was interesting when we first got home because so Dumbo, the baby or the puppy, not so puppy anymore, I guess. He really didn't seem that bothered.
He's
He was kind of just
uninterested. Like,
like,
oh, hey.
hey, another person. Buddy, he's definitely our alpha male. And so I think I mean, I wasn't nervous about him being around her, but you just pay a little closer attention to him, around babies and kids and stuff. And so I was interested to see how he would react. But I mean, when we opened that car door, he hopped right up. He was sniffing her hand. His tail was wagging. He was happy as could be.
Gentle too.
Yeah, he really was. He almost knew to be gentle, which
Maybe because they
I
have
didn't think
puppies.
he would know. I thought he'd still just be a bull in a china shop. But he did know to be gentle, which was really sweet.
So they just kind of watch over her all the time. Like when she's in the little bassinet, they're just sitting there staring at her,
Mhm.
like,
Yep.
wanting her to like give them a belly rub,
Yep.
which one day she will.
Yep. Lady was funny the other day. We were doing tummy time where, you put Margot on her belly and one of this little, I don't know what you'd call it, plaything. Um, and one of the things on it squeaked and we didn't realize it squeaked. And so I think you squeezed it together and it squeaked. And Buddy is a fiend for a squeaky toy.
Yeah.
And so he sits up, his ears kind of poke up a little bit. And Lady, as soon as he like sat up too fast, oh, she growled. She was putting that boy in
Yeah. She like
check.
got between him
Yeah,
and Margot, like, okay, don't move that quick around her.
yeah,
So it was really sweet.
yeah. She's gonna keep him in
She's
check.
like Nana from Peter Pan.
She is that.
This person asks, will your content shift? Honestly, I have kind of mixed, like, I think truthfully, yes. And
Naturally so, though.
I don't think shift maybe isn't a good word. Like, of course, I will still talk about the things that I've been talking about. Obviously, the trans issue, free speech, like all the cultural stuff. Of course, like to continue speaking to that and providing my input or insight or, interviewing different people on this podcast, which we do so well. Like, of course, we'll still continue to do that. But I do think there are some different lanes that I kind of want to like dive into. Number one, learn more about like from other people, other creators, I mean, just people. You don't have to be an influencer, if you will. I hate that
Yeah.
word. One of those topics kind of being motherhood. I think there's a space for it. I think there's a niche for it, especially on the conservative side of things. So I would love to be able to produce more like content surrounding motherhood. And I think secondly, another thing that I've always been passionate about, something we've talked about in this podcast, is fitness and like the fitness side of things. And so one of the things that I want to do, especially coming back now from, I say from maternity leave, she's literally a week old,
Yeah.
which I'm so fortunate to have this studio in her house. She's literally sat right here. Like I can look at her, she's sound asleep in her little snuggle me little thing. But would love to kind of get into like the fitness side of things, which we have awesome people on the conservative side who talk a ton about like health and wellness. But I feel like the fitness piece has kind of been missing from conservative culture conversations. And so that is something that I would love to do. I feel very passionately about, and I think it could help women, especially all people. Everyone needs exercise. Everyone needs, that sort of drive. I think it's a fantastic outlet to get anger, frustration, stress, anxiety out. Like it makes everyone feel better. But I think especially for women. So I'd love to be able to contribute in those ways, I think.
And I'm sure you'll absolutely smash it.
Well, we appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in to the Gains for Girls podcast with my co-host Louie,
The
the
best
best,
co-host.
yes, the best husband, the best dad, which is still kind of just crazy to say. So
Right for my dad hat.
I say we have many, many more. It is cool, especially now, like obviously with the passing, I mean the murder of Charlie Kirk, and to see all these things and to recount on conversations that he and I had had, where it was, have as many kids as possible. Now, having a child, like that legacy that he left behind, I fully understand it.
I think you are certifiably crazy. The first thing that you said when the doctor asked how you were doing, he said, "Great, I want to be pregnant again right now."
Like this was like minutes after
My
pushing out the
jaw
baby.
hit the floor, and he was like, "No one has ever said that to me before, like in this state that you're in right now." So that, yeah, I think you are a little crazy, but we'll see.
I'm ready.
She's ready. Help me.
Well, thank you guys. We'll see you again next week.